Sorry about that. Welcome to Justice Served Daily. I appreciate you joining me tonight. I wanted to share some information about a case that needs some help and needs some assistance, and the police are asking for the public's help and assistance for it. So I will go ahead and get started to share with you. So there was a little boy's body found in a suitcase um, in the Indiana woods, and they have still not been able to identify um, this little boy. So the boy was found on Saturday, April 16th. There was a man who was mushroom hunting about 7:30 p.m. on that night, and he was in southern Indiana, a rural part of southern Indiana. It's the actual address which they posted of location found was 7,000 block of East Holder Road, and that's in Washington County, which is basically near New Pekin, Indiana, also near Salem, Indiana, and it's 45 minutes northwest of Louisville, Kentucky. So this area is to your left is where they found the suitcase, and it's a very secluded area. There is very few houses even nearby, and it was basically 80 feet off of the road itself. So it would have not been found if he was not walking through there. And they thought after an autopsy they would believe to find out what had happened to the child, but it didn't, and they had to wait for a toxicology report. They did believe that the child was about 5 years old, and then they later kind of said that he could be from the range from about 5 to 8 years old. Now, he was described as black, almost 4 feet, very slender build, short hair. He was wearing clothes. He was clothed and taken care of. And they said that he was about 40 pounds. So this is where he was found. But he was found inside this hard shell suitcase. And it has obviously very distinctive design on it, Las Vegas design. It's on the front and the back of the suitcase. So to find this suitcase with the boy's body in there, in this very, rural, heavily wooded area with not very many houses nearby. And at first, the police had asked for the public's help in trying to even identify the suitcase and where the actual suitcase itself was made. And they did have, public's assistance in finding out where the suitcase was sold and some manufacturers and that for that because of the suitcase itself. So they did get information from that. And the Autopsy did not determine the cause of the death, so that's why they went to the toxicology report. And they also did establish a national tip line. And I will put that across the screen and stuff here. But that tip line is 1-888-437-6432. They've had lots of tips that came in, 500 to 1,000 different calls and stuff that came in, but none of them have led to the boy's identity. You go back on that. So investigators really kind of talked about how they were, appreciative of the tips and stuff that came in. However, they did sit here and share that in the tips that they got, that the public is sharing information about children that are already documented as missing. And they said that the investigators say that those cases have already been looked into. So, for example, Indiana State Police Sergeant Hulls said the vast majority of all the tips that had been coming in were for the missing boy from Virginia, which the Cody Bigsby case. But they stated that that is not who they're looking for. They're not looking for somebody who may have already been reported missing. They're looking for somebody who at the time is somebody who you haven't seen for a while. So if they think the boy is about 5 years of age, the problem is, he could possibly not be enrolled in school yet. So they really brought up about that it could be somebody that you haven't seen for a while. They even brought up the example of, grandparents who may have not seen a child for a while, or neighbors, or anything such as that, which is a horrible thought. But we've all seen cases and stuff like that that have happened, or children who aren't reported missing for years at a time. So, that's kind of the information and stuff that they had been sharing and trying to get info from. So what I'll show you, and then we'll go to, I'm going to show a video from the Indiana State Police that talks about the toxicology report, but not just because of that, but I think there's some interesting answers or non-answers to the questions that people had, and I want to be able to share that. But let me go back here real quick. I'll go ahead and share the ending details here of what I have in my stuff that I gathered. So the community did get together and had a vigil. They held a vigil for the little boy, and he was buried at Crown Hill Cemetery. As you can see, the tombstone that they got for him. And it has, in loving memory of a beloved little boy, known but to God. And that just makes it so horrible and sad to even think about. But yeah. So again, the 1-888-437-6432 is the hotline, and some more information and stuff. And let's go ahead and I'm going to show you the video from the Indiana State Police that I think is pretty interesting, actually. And hopefully I can pull this up properly. And bring up this for you. And it'll be a good length video here, but I just want you to hear all the answers that they give for some information and some questions.
In the tragic case of the young black male that was found in the suitcase located in rural Washington County back on April 16th. It's been a case that's kept our detectives constantly moving and going. A lot of ups and downs in this case, as far as emotions and everything that they're dealing with. So I ask that everybody keep them in their thoughts and prayers as they continue diligently on this case. On Sunday, toxicology report, the official report from the forensic pathologist that was the took place in Washington County. They did not receive the results until May 20th. Use those as far as their investigation, the official results. So we're not releasing that information until today. However, the autopsy listed the final diagnosis in the cause of death of the young male as electroenteritis, which in common layman's term would be vomiting and diarrhea. The toxicology report on the child was negative. Nothing of significance, no results in the blood test to give our investigators a further answer. Other types of testing were done by the doctor, but there was no anatomical cause of death listed, no significant traumatic injuries. The child appeared to be of normal growth and development. So once again, it's a very odd, tragic case, very sad case. Once again, it's kind of not the answers that we're hoping for, something that we can really work with. But the official result again is listed as electrolyte imbalance. I can read the official listed of death in this male child of unknown age is attributed to electrolyte imbalance. This is most likely, this is most likely secondary to a viral gastroenteritis. Blood toxicology studies are negative. There are no significance. So that's what our investigators received and what they have to work with at this time. Again, this case is ongoing. There's still a lot of work to go to be done, and they're looking into lots of different avenues. So even though it's not what most people, our investigators are actively working very hard. A lot of things that they're doing, a lot of more advanced technologies that they're utilizing. So having said that, we do want to remind the public that if you know of a black child that fits this description that's missing, there's need that information. We want to emphasize that of the documented children that are missing on the missing children's list across the country, those have been looked into. We're working with the Missing Children's Clearinghouse, with other agencies, if they have a child that they think could be a possibility. Those have all been looked into. At this point, there's no match on any child that's listed as missing. So we want people to know that. We're not saying that there could not be a possibility, but at this time, there has been working hand in hand with all the other authorities that deal with that. We receive a lot of calls on the suitcase itself. Obviously, it's very distinctive. We're hoping that will give some information. We want somebody with firsthand knowledge of seeing that suitcase in a situation that could be connected with this case. We receive calls all the time about where the suitcase is sold, who manufactures it, the different outlets that sell it. We're well aware of that information. We don't need that type of information on the suitcase. Suitcase has been well looked into by our detectives. But if somebody has firsthand knowledge of seeing that suitcase in this area, that would be different, and we would definitely like to have that information. So again, we're still waiting for that call of somebody that has firsthand knowledge of a child that fits this description, that is missing, or that they don't have the correct answers for, that might be a lead in this case. Again, it's a young black male we believe to be around the age of 5, 46 inches tall, which is just under 4 feet, approximately 40 pounds. He's a slim build, and again, he was located on April 16th in rural Washington County. So again, that's the information we have at this time. That's new as far as the autopsy report and the toxicology report. So at this time, I can attempt to answer any questions.
Indiana State Police, are you investigating this as a homicide or still a death investigation?
At this point, it's going to be a death investigation. It can always change as information becomes available. Again, you would think with the autopsy, you might have something more distinctive. But there's lots of different avenues that this could be approached from. So our investigators are very open to not precluding anything, and therefore they're open to all ideas. So they're not going to say, this is only these. But at this point,
That just means, what does electrolyte?
well, I'm not a doctor, so you'll have to contact, the possibly the coroner's office or the forensic pathologist. But basically, again, as I stated earlier, he lists electrolyte imbalance, most likely due to gastroenteritis, which was found clean. He was clothed. He appeared to be, at least somewhat cared for. So that's, again, not what you expect. But again, we're not talking about, there are no significant injuries, nothing on the body that the doctors could find significant injuries. So the main thing was listed as the electrolyte imbalance. Again, I'm not a doctor, so you may have to find an expert.
About where it was sold or purchased or anything?
Well, as part of the investigators have looked at a lot into the suitcase as far as if they have personal information on it, specifically this suitcase, and they have looked into the suitcase pretty much any way you can. They're not going to be releasing any information as far as if they know where it was actually sold, but we do a lot of calls of the stores that it was normally sold at. Somebody was on vacation and they saw it at this airport being sold, or it's very common to hear that Ross stores sold it. A lot of people said they found it in a Goodwill store in a different city, those types of things. But again, if they have firsthand knowledge, around that date of somebody that, somehow this might be connected with this child, that would be the type of information we need. Where it's been sold across the nation, our investigators are well aware of that information.
Can you just explain how knowing the cause of death now either helps or doesn't help further the investigation? I mean, did it take you guys a step further or not?
I mean, any information is going to help further the investigation. I mean, it draws off answers, it would have been possible for the toxicology report to come back with who knows what kind of results, saying this was in the system that's abnormal. They did not get that information. They got a toxicology report. No, other than natural substances, nothing abnormal with their toxicology understanding. So that it wasn't that caused the death, that opens up more possibilities sometimes, but also precludes other possibilities. So the type of glaring information that they were hoping to get, or maybe assumed we might get.
Description of this boy could apply to so many people. Why not release a rendering or and close the child?
Right, if it's this description that's missing, they need to give the call. Having a picture shouldn't make somebody all of a sudden recall, oh, that child. If they know about again and again, there's many different reasons, but sometimes diagrams, drawings, sometimes those renderings can lead to misconceptions as well. So it can open up a Pandora's box of people say, well, I thought it was this child, when possibly not. So at this time, they feel it's in the best interest of the case not to do that.
Aside from the tip line, what other things are you all doing to try to figure out who this child was?
Right. There's lots of things going on in the background. Again, I mentioned earlier some very advanced technologies. I can't get into those, but they are doing lots of different things that will hopefully ultimately lead to those answers.
Was there any indication that he was alive when he was put in the suitcase?
I can't speak on that.
What do you want people to sort of take away? Because you're saying you checked all the missing databases and that's not working. And, it kind of seems like, we can't really do it. I mean, what do you want us to do at the point and sort of listen to it?
Again, somebody out there knows he was in a zipped suitcase. You've seen the suitcase on TV. He's in an enclosed suitcase. He couldn't put himself in that suitcase. Somebody did. Somebody knows something. Sometimes it takes time, but eventually, we're hoping we'll get that call that somebody has firsthand knowledge. Somebody out there has firsthand knowledge on what happened in the situation because he did not show up in the woods on Holder Road in the county by himself. So somebody has information, and we need that person to come forward. Again, all the missing children's databases have been rigorously gone over. They still go over. It's an ongoing process, and that's not led to anything. So the tips that we receive on the tip line haven't led to any hard, credible, evidence or a direction to give the detectives something to sink their teeth into. So we're still looking for that firsthand knowledge if possible.
Are you still getting a lot of calls with the tip line, or is that slowed down?
They have slowed down over time, but they are still getting tips. Again, a lot of the tips are when we receive the same information for the same child. For example, Cody Bigsby, numerous times still to this date, which has been verified. It is not that child from Hampton, Virginia, and that's been stated time and time again, but we still get that information. We receive a lot of information on investigative techniques on the tip line. Nothing hard that says, I know this, or hey, I knew this child and I haven't been able to contact him, or his grandparents haven't had any contact with this child for a while and they're suspicious. Nothing like that, but we do get a lot of calls about, have you thought about investigating it this way or that way? And I can assure the public that our detectives have not held anything back. There's a lot of stuff going on in this investigation, a lot of very advanced technologies.
Speaking of those, is DNA part of that?
I can't get into the specifics, but just rest assured that, pretty much anything that's available to our detectives, they're utilizing that information and those technologies.
How frustrating is it keep asking kind of for the same answers?
Yeah, it's very frustrating. Personally, I would have never expected to be here on this date after he was located on the 16th and not have some of the answers. I think everybody was hopeful that the autopsy would shed some more light that they could really utilize quickly and jump into, but getting a result that says, it wasn't this, it wasn't that is helpful, but it's, maybe not what we expected. It's still helpful though. It is very frustrating. Our detectives do get tips, and many times, it can be very exciting thinking you've got something that's going to be really great, and those tips and those leads are tracked down to the very end and realize that it's absolutely not involved whatsoever. They desperately want to get the answers for it, and they'll keep searching and they'll keep working until they get what they need. But again, a lot of stuff is going on in the background, a lot of technologies, as I spoke of, that hopefully in time will render some answers. Some of the technologies obviously take time, even the toxicology results. They do those things and they find things they want to delve in even deeper, so it takes more time to get the actual results back because they looked into everything they could think of.
Did the autopsy clarify anything about his time of death at all?
I can't speak to that at this point as far as having not gone through the whole report myself, but mainly the cause of death was the main thing that I'm here to speak about today.
There were no signs of negligence.
there was no traumatic injuries or anything like that listed. Basically, his terminology in the report was no anatomical cause of death, no significant traumatic injuries. So basically, as I stated earlier, he was clean, he was clothed inside the suitcase.
Oh, sorry, that looks horrible. Whoa, that's much better. Sorry about that. So I wanted to show that. I know that was kind of long, but the information that they're kind of sharing and then not sharing at the same time. So they're not going to give a rendering of the boy. As far as, they can sometimes do what a face looks like and kind of recreate that. And that's not happening right now because they want people to just comment if they know that somebody is been gone and they're not giving information on the clothes that was being worn. And they're not commenting on whether the child was alive when put into the suitcase or already had passed away. And there was no update as far as exact timing of death, which they had said at the time they thought was in the week. But, he hadn't read through the report to be able to give that update at the time. So this case really does need a lot of help to help find who this little boy is and belongs to. Again, the hotline, national hotline set up is the 1-888-437-6432. And please share that information out and let people know what is going on, who's being looked for. They're not quite sure if the person could be from Indiana. Did the little boy come from there? Did he come from Kentucky? Was he, drove from someplace else and then dumped in the woods? So I appreciate you joining and helping to spread the word. This little boy deserves justice, and he deserves to have his name. So thank you so much for joining me, and have a great evening, and let's make sure justice is served daily.